What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of The Chi. This is season 4, episode 3. The episode is titled Native Son, and let's go ahead and get into it. So we actually start this episode off at Kevin's house. And yes, I say Kevin's house instead of saying Nina and Dre because we already know who the focus is of the show. It's Kevin. So, Nina is over here trying to be a parent for a good 30 seconds. Y'all already know how I feel about her. I think she's a piss poor parent. So she is over here talking to, I guess, Kevin, because he was sitting there. And to Keisha talking about some dinner is going to be at 7 o'clock. And she trying a new lasagna recipe. Girl, them kids ain't sat down and had dinner with you in who knows how long. They probably haven't sat down and had a family dinner in at least a good couple of years. I mean, they tried to have something when Keisha was home and Emmett and Jada had came over and everybody was sitting at that table eating until the mess got started. But let's not act like y'all regularly have family dinners. Come on now. So then we see Keisha, she trying to eat up, some junk food. She's like, no, you need to eat real food. You need to eat a real meal. She ends up giving her like some fruit. And then she has this notebook that she pulls up on Kevin with. And it has like all these lines and numbers on it talking about somehow he basically needs to fix his life because he can't mess up during the ages. It sounds like it was high school to college age because that kind of determines where he might end up in life or whatever. And he's talking about all I can do is my best. It is what it is. Which is very true. That is technically a true statement. All you can do is your best. And whatever happens, it kind of happens. And I do understand what Nina is saying as far as, messing up when you in high school and when you're in college age or whatever. One thing is that you're going to look back on your life once you get to a certain point after you've messed up so much and be like, dang, I've wasted a lot of time. So I get it from that standpoint. But at the same time, the only thing I kept thinking was, Nina, now you're trying to be a parent. Now you're trying to get Kevin in line. What were you doing months ago? What were you doing years ago? You wait until Kevin is out here smoking, drinking, talking back, cussing y'all out, and now you decide to try to tell him to fix his life? Girl, bye. So next thing you know, we find out that Kevin is actually suspended from school. But, the white schools, instead of you just being sent home to do whatever, you actually have in-school suspension. And I'm just like, well, serves him right for getting drunk and high while he was on that college tour. The other thing about this scene that stood out to me was, why did Dre look like Snoop Dogg? I'm sorry, the flannel shirt, the chain around the neck, and the braids, I cannot. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the next scene, which was at Trig's house, or should I say Reg's house, as Jake liked to call it. So we're there with Trig, Jake, and Shad. So Jake has to say that he has in-school suspension as well because he got caught up with that white girl, whatever. The crazy thing about this is that Shad is over here talking about I heard that she has an OnlyFans and she got a big booty like a black girl and all this stuff. And I'm with Trig, why are you even thinking about some 15-year-old girl? And I'm like, wait a minute, if she's supposed to be 15, how old is Jake supposed to be? Is Jake supposed to be like 15, 16 years old? Are we finally getting a gauge on how old these kids are at this point? Anyways, moving off of that though, Trig is kind of annoyed with Shad. He wants him to get up, go out, do something, fix his life. Because sitting around at their house ain't gonna get him nowhere. One thing that also stood out to me was that Shad told what's his boy named Jake, that white girls are basically for having sex with, but you're supposed to marry the black girls. I'm like, I guess that's good advice. Is it? I'm still on the fence about it. So that pretty much wrapped up that scene. It's more so this next scene that I want to get to that we're going to talk about, which is Emmett literally waiting on Tiff to come back. I'm like, dude, if you waited up that whole time, you should have known something went down, especially considering how tit for tat you and Tiff are. So Tiff finally come home and he like, where you been? And she's like, with one of my customers. Which customer? Dante. And then first thing he says, did you fuck him? And she's like, yep. And I'm just like, dude, you already knew the answer. When she stormed up out of there, you should have already known that she was going to some dude's house. Come on now. I did kind of laugh when she was like, he get better head than you. Because I'm like, ooh, woman scored. So now she really about to tell you that somebody does something better than you. I'm all here for it because Emmett is trash. Let's not forget that. Emmett has been trash since season 1. Now this is season 4. He's trying to get his life together. But baby, it just might be too late for you and Tiff. Now, I do think that I like him with Keisha because I think they have a better relationship. But as far as him and Tiff goes, I don't know. I just don't know with them. Alright, so let's go ahead and hop over to this next scene, which is Duda and Tracy. Y'all, they painted one little pole together, and now he wants to give her $5 million for her organization. And I'm not even trying to knock Tracy or whatever, but what has her organization done? The only thing she had was a sister circle with some black mothers whose kids have gotten killed by police officers and any other type of crime in Chicago. Oh, yeah, and also those were the same women who talk crap about Keisha, talking about how she was some fast girl and how she was doing all of this other stuff. So what are we really giving Tracy $5 million for? Oh, my bad. It's because Duda has a thing for her. Like, dude, $5 million? I think it's a couple other things that you can do with $5 million for the city of Chicago. So after that, next thing you know, we have Trig come strolling through the door. And I'm like, how did you get into the mayor's office? Like, somebody just let me know. How did Trig, of all people, be able to just walk on through the mayor's office like as if it was nothing? Well, you know what? They stormed the Capitol in America. So, anybody can walk around anywhere. So he get there talking about y'all need to turn on the news or whatever. And it's a reporter talking to somebody about how the black people don't want police in their neighborhoods. So now the police, I guess, are going on strike. Whatever. They don't want to work no more. Cool. So now Duda is upset. He trying to figure out, what his next move is, because with the police not working, you have Trig talking about some people are happy about it, but the older people in the neighborhoods, they're not happy about it. And my whole thing is this. You said that you were going to defund the police of Chicago, the city of Chicago, which last time I checked is not only black people. Just saying, the city is not only black people. So what ended up coming out of this conversation of Trig and Duda and Tracy is that Trig is saying that, they need to organize. There needs to be some type of plan happening. So now him and Tracy are about to partner up and be community leaders. And I said, now those two cannot lead my community. But you know what? We're going to see how this season of The Chi goes. Because Trig is still questionable to me. And Tracy, I don't trust Tracy. Tracy done got many men killed. No thank you. We saw what she did to Ronnie. We didn't forget. So let's hop back over to Tiff and Emmett. Tiff is in the bathroom. Emmett is bamming on the door, talking about Tiff, you better hope that he pulled out so that you're not going to get pregnant again. Because, then you have to figure out who the baby daddies are. All this stuff. And I'm like, I love that you basically know that your girl is not going to make a dude put on a condom. Like, we're going to act like condoms don't exist. Great. A great way to promote things in TV. Also, I just am so over this whole tit for tat thing because to me, Emmett still has not even taken full accountability yet. Like, throughout this entire episode, Tiff and Emmett got on my nerves because they have yet to have a real adult conversation, to me, about what really went down with Emmett and old girl. Like, last time I checked, didn't he sleep with Dom before they even got married? Like, wasn't that a long time ago? And then he ended up marrying Tiff. Like, I'm so confused as to why when this happened isn't being shared, because I think in Tiff's mind she thinks that this is recent, but it's not. And Dom isn't saying anything about it happening recently, and neither is Emmett. So of course she's going to assume that it probably happened like a week before. So then we hop over to Can't Catch a Break Jada, and she's at the doctor's office with Dre. Dre is going to be the person that she's going to confide in about having cancer, and the doctor is telling her that, this stuff is very progressive, so we want to, start you on chemo. You have Dre, who's like trying to go the holistic route, and the doctor's like, listen, I don't do that. I am doing traditional medicine, and this is our solution, which is chemo. So Jada actually doesn't want anyone to know except for Dre, because she doesn't want her to tell Nina, because Nina will probably tell her kids. And as we know, Keisha and Emmett are very close, and that is how Emmett may find out. So she just wants to, try to get some things under control first and then be able to tell Emmett, which I completely understand. So the only people who know that Jada has cancer right now is Dre and Suede, I believe. Well, I don't know if she even told Suede. God finally learned that man's name. But anyways, I don't think she told him. He just knows that she had that lump. So moving on from that, we go over to Emmett. He's at the restaurant trying to prep food, and Dom comes in. Dom is like, why are you even here? You don't know what you're doing in the kitchen. And he's like, well, I'm going through it because I told Tiff about what happened between me and you. Dom is upset, talking about now that's going to mess up things for me, because number one, she found a friend in Tiff. And then secondly, they have that edible food tasting coming up, and she doesn't want it to be awkward, but Emmett is like, well, she ain't even mentioned nothing about you, so it's more about me. And also, she's too busy fucking on Dante. And what threw me off was that Dom is like, oh, she messing around with Dante now? That's like my play cousin. Why did y'all act like the name Dante was a common name? Like, I hate on TV shows when they say like, oh, someone knows this person, or they're messing around with that person, as if they're the only person in the world who has that name. Like, I would have respected it more if she was like, wait, what Dante? And if he would have been like, oh, she has this client who lives on this side of town or whatever, then she could have said, oh, I know him. But just like the name Dante, you automatically know who it is. That's so weird to me, but let's go ahead and move on, because Emmett got so upset about Dom only caring about her friendship with Tiff that he goes out, he talks to Papa. Papa out here making black-owned business signs, so that people in the neighborhood would know this is a black-owned business. And Emmett is like, everybody already knows that. But one thing about this is that, was there like rioting happening? Were people looting? Were people like robbing people? What was happening for him to put up a sign that says black owned business? I really want to know, because they're not saying that like the city got rowdy because there's no more police. None of that has been said on the show, but he's putting up these signs. Make it make sense. So then we jump over to Rosalind and Duda, and she's basically trying to tell him, dude, you need to slow down with all the things that you're trying to do. First of all, you're not the black Donald Trump. You're not a white man. You can't do what the white politicians do. He don't care. He is not listening. At this point, she's just like, when you come up with a plan, then you can go ahead and tell me about it. The only thing that I realized in this scene was that Jimba's dad's name is Marcus. Did not think that was what his name was. And he's still talking about the Olympics. That's the only thing that man cares about. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next scene, which really pissed me off because it was a character from last season that I thought that we were not going to see again. So if y'all recall last season when Kevin, Jake, and Papa went to that trap house to try to look for Keisha because her boyfriend Nook lived there. This dude is Keisha's ex-boyfriend, Nook. The guy who had the house with all the young girls where they were running what's that thing? Sex trafficking through the house. Yeah. That's who this guy is. So he shows up to Imani's place of business, which looks like the basement, and is like, do her hair. And she's like, well, does she have an appointment? And he's like, do her hair. Like, that was it. He sat down. He over here lights a blunt. And I'm just like, how he just gonna come up in her spot like that, first of all? Secondly, clearly Trig is no threat to the community, because it's crazy how he just ran up in his spot and demanded that Imani did this girl's hair. So Imani is going to do her hair. She's like, girl, I got you. So then we jump on over to the high school. So we have Kevin and Jake. They are there with one of their teachers in this in-school suspension. They're trying to get them to write about their feelings and basically what got them into having suspension. Jake is not here for it. Kevin's like, I'll write it, because he just trying to get up out of there. So we jump back over to Imani and her shop. And Rashad, well, I don't even know his name is Rashad, but Shad comes down the steps or whatever. He has a box of stuff for Imani, and him and Nook recognize each other. They're like, oh yeah, I just got out of jail, blah, 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 right? But here's my thing. How does Nook know Shad? Because if this was Reg's homeboy, like if Shad was friends with Reg, I completely understand that. But Trig has been gone from Chicago for at least a good 8 years, because I think Jake was like little when he left, because he left both his brothers, because Reg has had him the whole time. So I'm like, okay, there goes 8 years. And then you said Shaw did like a bid for you, and I'm pretty sure that was while you were in Chicago. Like, how long has Shaw been in jail? I have questions. How long has Shaw been in jail? When was Trig supposed to be in Chicago? How does Nook and Shaw know each other? What is this? What is this show, y'all? So next thing you know, Shaw and Nook, they actually leave together because they're about to get something to eat. So Nook just leaves the girl there, trusting that Imani is just going to do this girl hair and wait for him to get back. If I was Imani, I would have came up with an escape plan for that girl, because we already know what the situation is. So then we jump on over to Kevin and Gemma. Kevin is looking over his papers like, oh yeah, this is really good, but can I interview you for my little morning show that I have? I only talk to you for like 5 minutes. Kevin is like, nah, that's lame. I don't want to do it. So next thing you know, who does she reach out to? Jake. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Here comes the sparks that they're going to try to create. At first, Jake, he didn't want to do it. But then she's like, you'll just be talking to me. It'll be fine. So then he finally agrees to do her little morning show. One thing about this is that Gemma is telling Kevin, like, oh, well, you can help people. And I'm just like, what people is he going to help? Because y'all go to a rich white school. There's only a few black kids who go here, and I'm pretty sure they're having the same experience as the two boys. Like, I just don't even understand who they're going to be helping. Oh, we're going to get the black students to have to educate the white kids again? Girl, no. So then we go ahead and jump back over to Shad and Nook. They're at a bar, and Nook is asking, is Shad working for Imani? And he's like, well, my PO said I have to have some type of work, so Trig hooked that up for me. I'm surprised that Nook didn't, say something offensive about Trig, considering Trig put a gun on him and walked all through his house. Are we forgetting that happened? Are we all forgetting that Trig put a gun out on Nook and all his crew and then searched through that house for Keisha? I feel like the type of person Nook is, he would still probably have a problem with Trig. But at this point, he's like, I would never work for that thing in there. And Rashad is like, well, she got a little attitude, but she alright. And he's like, that ain't no she. So at this point, this is where Shad finds out that Imani is actually trans, and I feel like that's going to cause like some type of something between him and Trig at some point. So then we jump on over to Jada. She's over here filling up some shot glasses. And next thing you know, Emmett is going to his mom. Because as we know, Emmett is a mama's boy. Whenever something goes down with him and Tiff, he has to go whine to his mom. But the thing is, she has on, it looks like some Spanx or something. And she's like, Emmett, you should have knocked. You know, she puts a robe on, and next thing you know, who comes out the back? Suede. So now Emmett is even more pissed because he thought that Suede was gone. He thought that, you know, that whole masseuse thing was in the past, but no, Suede is still around. And at this point, Jada is basically telling him to leave, and he feels like Jada is choosing Suede over him. Of course, Emmett being a brat. Also, the fact that Suede is only 2 years older than Emmett, I'm like, well, I feel like at this point, y'all gotta be y'all mid-20s, right? Like, so Suede gotta be at least 25. I guess that's okay, Jada. Do you, girl? Let's go ahead and move on to this scene with Trig, Tracy, Papa's daddy, and eventually Duda. They have like this little meeting. I guess it was at Tracy's location for her rock organization. And, you know, Papa's dad is giving a speech. And the next thing you know, Trig is up there talking about how, you know, we need to stick together, blase, blah. And my whole thing is this. The people that they gathered up for this scene, I'm just like, and who are they supposed to be? Like, did y'all get some of like the gangbangers, the thugs, the people that shooting each other? Like, who's actually in this room? And also, when Trig was like, if anything is, you know, happening, we're going to be the ones who's fixing it. We're going to be the, you know, problem solvers. And I'm just like, but wait a second. Do you know how many calls people make to 911 every day, every minute, every hour for your city? Who's calling? I just have so many questions as to how they think these 25 people are about to save the day. I just really need to know. But you know what? We're going to see how the season plays out. Tracy has created some little sheets where everybody can fill them out with their information and they can put what they're good at. And I'm just like, okay, we'll see how this goes. So the neighborhood watch, community protection, they get a phone call and here goes their first big job. Let's just go ahead and move on over to Imani, who is talking to her two friends. In this scene, I just gave a side eye to the friend who told Imani to stay out of grown folks' business because you're acting like Imani is not grown herself. She is not a child. Cut it out. Secondly, I do wish that Imani was able to help that girl. I am glad that this scenario is coming back this season because last season when Imani went into that house, she wanted to save those girls then. So I'm glad that this season, hopefully, Imani will be able to save those girls from under Nook. So then we jump back over to Trig and Tracy and old boy who used to run with Reg. I cannot think his name. But anyways, they pull up on these people's house. First thing the people want to know is, who are y'all? Because y'all ain't the police. And who do y'all think y'all are to just roll up on us like this? So, they have to say who they are, that they're community protection or whatever. And they're basically fighting. This couple is fighting because the girl has the OnlyFans and that's what's helping pay their rent, but the dude is not supportive of her having an OnlyFans. Like, during all this commotion that was happening in this scene, I was just like, Trig getting punched in the face, that could actually happen because those people don't know you. It is very random for strangers to just walk up on people and demand that, you tell them their problems. Like, that's random. But let's just go ahead and move on to Emmett. He has a conversation with Keisha about how, him and Tiff are going through it and how she's messing around with Dante and all this stuff because he ended up telling her. And like Keisha said, like, listen, she's silent and she's mad and the only thing you can do is wait it out. Next thing you know, Tiff comes by and she, drops off their son. And at this point, we see a scene of Keisha looking at Emmett's son, and now she's questioning if she should keep this baby. Like, girl, no. The answer is no, you should not keep this baby. So then we jump back over to Tracy and Trig over here being neighborhood therapists. And the resolution of that situation was the woman wanted their family to go, get some type of help because they are raising a child together. And the guy ended up leaving. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like what the show is trying to do as far as have, people in the community that instead of calling the police, you can reach out to. But Trig and Tracy, y'all, I just can't get over it being Trig and Tracy. All right, let's just go ahead and move on because after that, Trig ended up going home, and Imani is like, dude, what happened to your eye? He tells her, he had to break up a fight or whatever. And in response to that, she's like, well, listen, you're not a cop. And he's like, I know, but I'm still trying to, get these terrorists off the streets. Okay, so then she tells him about her day and how one of Nook's girls came by, and she's like, I want to help her. And his response is, well, that ain't my problem. I'm sorry, but how does this make sense that Trig is over here trying to be the social justice warrior and he's trying to help the community and all this other stuff, but you have girls being sex trafficked, but that's not your problem? How does that make any sense, y'all? Like, out of all the people who need help, clearly these girls need help. And then for his response to be like, well, Nook doesn't work for me, so there's nothing I can do about it. I'm like, dude, you literally ran up in that man's spot. You put a gun to him and his friends, and then y'all walk through looking for Keisha. Like, I'm not understanding why you and the group of people that you just met with can't, try to help these girls. So we do see a quick scene of Jake and Gemma. They are doing her little morning show, and Kevin is just watching from the classroom and clearly feeling some type of way. Now let's go ahead and move over to Duda, Marcus, and Rosalind. So they're having a meeting about how they can basically bring the Olympics to Chicago. And next thing you know, Tracy comes in and Rosalind's trying to tell her, like, we're in a meeting. She's like, well, I'm just dropping some papers off. So now we have to hear her opinion about things. And she don't care about the Olympics. She cares more about the city of Chicago and the black people in it. Now, they also talked about her program, what is it, Community Partners or whatever it is, her and Trig got going on. And Rosalind is like, so how are y'all going to, help the entire city of Chicago? And that's not what they try to do. They only want to help the black neighborhoods. And I'm like, of a huge city like Chicago? Okay, girl, let's just keep watching and see what happens this season, y'all. Because after Tracy left out, he also excused Rosalind. So I'm like, okay, he clearly has a thing for Tracy. And even Marcus is like, dude, you better be careful with her. And I don't think Duda knows what he's getting himself into. Because first of all, he's giving her $5,000. Now he's putting her as the leader of this community coalition, Community Partners or whatever they're called. And now she just walking all through the mayor's office like she knows somebody. Girl, sit down somewhere. All right, let's just go ahead and move on to the next scene, which is Dom. She's getting ready for this event that her and Tiff are supposed to be having. And when Tiff gets there, of course, Dom is like, are we good? Are you mad at me? What's up? And Tiff is like, no, I ain't mad at you. Just don't mess around with him again. So Dom is like, I already have my hands full with his daddy. I'm like, gosh, that's so tacky. But let's just go ahead and jump onto this event that they had, which was their food that was infused with weed or whatever. And everybody there is having a good time. They're getting high off these edibles. Darnell, he was getting way too high. And one person who was there who I was kind of surprised was Jada. Jada was there. She's getting high off the edibles. And I'm like, she may need this with all the stuff she's going through. And then we also see Tiff have a conversation with this gay couple. Which, first of all, why does Tiff not have friends? Secondly, we've never seen these characters before, but she's having a conversation with them as if she talks to them all the time. But either way, this couple basically lets her know that, they're in this open relationship and her and Emmett should try it because they're the only ones who can define what their relationship is as a married couple. Now, do I think that this is going to end well for Tiff and Emmett? No. But let's just go ahead and let it play out. Now we jump back over to Trig and Tracy, and they are back at I guess the community partners headquarters, where they're talking to a group of people about, thanking them for all the work that they've been putting in. And someone ended up asking, like, so are we supposed to keep doing this? Like, what's the plan? And basically, these people are volunteering to help, and they have to keep showing up, because if they don't, then the police are going to come back. Now, I find it interesting that these people have to volunteer and do this, yet dude I just said he was going to give Tracy $5 million. Girl, if you're about to get $5 million, you can't give these people a cut of the money. Like, at this point, they're employees. If they're there to answer phones, go be people's therapists, go see what's going on in the neighborhoods, y'all need to be paying them the same way police officers got a salary. So next thing you know, Doodah shows up or whatever. He gives his little speech. I don't even care about what he was talking about. Let's get to the part where he tells Tracy that he's going home to have a nightcap, and then baby girl invites herself to come along. And in that moment, the only thing I kept thinking was, well, what will Rosalind think? Well, we'll get to that. So we quickly jump back over to Emmett and Tiff and them. And Emmett is, trying to catch up with his mom because she's walking out. But he's like, Mom, I can walk you home. And she's like, no, baby, Slade has it. And I'm just like, at this point, Jada, just go ahead and tell Emmett that you're dating this young boy. It's okay. It's fine. He'll live. We then see what's going on at Kevin's house, because remember, they're supposed to have dinner at 7 o'clock. So you have Keisha, who's in her room boo-hoo crying because, she doesn't know what to do about this baby. You have Kevin texting Gemma. She ain't answering because she's still mad that he wouldn't do her little morning show. And then we see Dre, who's having a conversation with Jada on the phone, basically trying to tell her that everything's going to be all right and they're going to get through this. What other thing I kept thinking was, Jada was just high 2 seconds ago. I guess her high came down real quick to be having this conversation with Dre. So after that, the whole family gets together and, they're having dinner as if things are normal. And I'm just like, again, we have Nina here and she's oblivious to everything that's going on around her. Like, that woman never knows what is happening in her own household. Let's go ahead and move on. We get a quick scene of Emmett and Tiff, and the conclusion of their conversation is that they're going to have an open marriage, basically because she wants him to let her know who he messing around with, if some girl catches his eye, and for her to basically do the same. I'm like, this is not going to end well, because I feel like at some point she's going to start liking Dante way more than she like Emmett. But let's go ahead and move on, because you have Tracy, who is at Doodah's apartment, like the high rise or whatever, and they're just having a good old time, having drinks. And next thing you know, they start making out. They about to, get it popping up against the glass wall. And who comes home? Oh, Rosalind comes home. And, she takes her seat and she ends up saying, well, I like to watch. And they continue. And the only thing I kept thinking was, wait a second, is this about to become like a polyamorous relationship? Or are they going to be a throuple? Like, what is about to happen next with these three? And that was pretty much where the episode ended. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.